Well, I did tell you this would happen. Um, and I basically said to you, look, these red wall MPs, these red wall Tory MPs in particular that we're talking about, they won their seats in 2019, very much in part thanks to Boris Johnson, and were relying on all of Johnson's promises, very, very much so, almost explicitly on the promises to level up these left behind towns. And of course, as we've said, as we've followed this entire um, situation since 2019, what has happened? The leveling up money has not come through. They have not improved these towns. They have not made them better. But that was their whole selling point. You forget in 2019, not only were they selling themselves as, look, you vote for us, you get Brexit, but vote for us. And guess what? We can unlock all this funding into your town that you've never got before. So they were very, very much engaging in some serious pork barrel politics of, hey, vote for us, and you'll suddenly get all this money. Won't it be fantastic? And they were also very much relying on the fact that not only were they going to win the MP seat, but they were also going to sweep away all these Labour councils as well. And that did not happen. And really, there was a by-election very quickly in Hull after the 2019 general election. And since then, they have not won one seat. They've only continued to lose them in all these red wall seats. And now these red wall MPs are starting to panic big time. So what have they gone and done? Well, they've done pretty much what every single group of upset Tory MPs decide to do. Let's create a new group. And this seems to be very much created of you may remember all the Tory MPs that went on to do the National Conservative Conference. They've all come together, especially the Northern Red Wall MPs. They seem to be led by Miriam Cates. Again, she's the MP next door of Penistone and Stocksbridge. And they've come out and said, we are the new Conservative group. That we are the new Conservatives. That's their whole selling point. Now, they're saying that they're not challenging Rishi Sunak. In reality, they are. In reality, they very much are. Or if not, they soon will be. But their whole selling point that they've brought out today, and we'll go over some of their policies, or at least their belief that they want to try and fight the next election on. They want to fight it on immigration, because their whole idea is if we go, we are the true guardians on immigration. We will somehow re-win our seats, when in reality there's a lot more going on around immigration. They're not really talking about the consequences if you bring in this immigration stuff, which we'll get to as well. But we'll go over what they want to do, some of their 12 points, and we'll also go over an expert who had a response. And it's very much like, well, yeah, you can do that, but you're not really going to talk, or at least you're not talking about what the actual consequences of your policies are going to be, especially when it comes into the care home situation, which is very, very much seems to be what they're focusing on. So, before we do go jumping into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and an annotation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. There is the YouTube thank you button, and of course, the Pony Club down below as well, which again, all helps support the channel. And of course, please do remember to click on the like and share button. Like I say, that helps the channel out as well. So let's crack on into this. So this was reported today in The Guardian with the title of Red Wall Tory MPs Put Pressure on Sunak Over Net Migration. And down here are some of the proposal measures that they have insisted. And they are saying that this is mass migration. It's having a massive destabilizing effect on the economy, and it's having cultural consequences. Again, cultural consequences. But anyway, this is what some of the things that they want to do. So they want to put a cap on 20,000. That's the arbitrary cap that they've put on. It's just 20,000. And bear in mind, whenever we've seen a cap put on these numbers, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked out. And very quickly, they've been deemed as failures. David Cameron did this. Priti Patel did this. Suella Braverman hasn't done this, but Rishi Sunak has done this. And guess what? He's been seen as a failure. So they want a cap of 20,000 on the number of refugees accepted for resettlement in the UK. They want caps on future humanitarian schemes, such as the Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Hong Kong schemes, that should the precedent of 168,000 reductions not be realized. So again, they're already saying, yeah, all these people that we were helping from Ukraine and Afghanistan, well, if we don't lower the cap, sorry, we're not going to help them, regardless of the situation that's happening in these situations. So you might be someone from Ukraine who's fleeing. Well, tough. We were over the maximum number. No help for you. Oh, you're an Afghanistan refugee who happened to help British forces, who again missed out on the airlift. You've made us all the way here. Sorry, no help for you. Oh, you're from Hong Kong. You're being persecuted because you want democracy to continue in Hong Kong. Sorry, no help for you. It's insane. They also want the implementation of the provisions of the illegal migration bill, which is claimed it would lead to a reduction of at least 350,000 people from the LTMI. They want a raise in the minimum contribution income threshold to 26,000 for the sponsoring of a spouse, or at least raising the minimum language requirement to B1, that's intermediate level. This should be at least leading to the elimination of 20,000 of a reduction in them, the MPs claim. They also want to make the Migration Advisory Committee report on the effect of migration on housing and public services, not just the jobs market, by putting the featured demand on par with labour requirements in all studies. And again, this is what we've seen before, because they always go, oh no, you don't understand. Migrants are putting a massive pressure on housing. They're putting a massive pressure on public servants, of public services. The reality is they're not. But people like this and these MPs that are claiming this, saying they're putting a massive thing on this, and only if the public knew, they'd be with us. When in reality, that's not the case. The housing problem is caused by the fact that we aren't building social housing. The public services problem is caused by the fact that we are not funding public services. It's, again, got nothing to do with immigration. And of course, they want a 5% cap on the amount of social housing that councils can give to non-UK nationals. So essentially, any council, regardless, once they've reached that 5% cap, no social housing. And again, this comes from again the whole point: we're not building enough social housing in the first place. So opposing this very much, again, it's a complete arbitrary number. Oh, it's a 5% cap. If you go above that, well, it doesn't matter, because what about the complete stock of the social housing that council might have access to? But anyway, yeah. And of course, the final one is raising the immigration health surcharge to £2,700 per person. Again, it's complete nonsense, and it doesn't really engage with the real problems that have been going on in the UK. And they're trying to, of course, do the whole song and dance of, this is immigration that is causing all our problems. It's immigration that is putting so much pressure on NHS. Again, there's no evidence for them to say that. That's why they're so desperate to say that. Again, same for the social housing, but again, they are the ones that have not been building social housing. And this is it. and this is the expert that weighs in on this. So Madeline Sumpton, from the director of the Migration Observatory at Oxford University, has said that the report made clear that these policy proposals did not actually engage with the many potential trade-offs for the UK. Both major political parties have said that they want migration to come down, but net migration is expected to decline anyway over the coming years, even without policy changes. However, if they want a more significant restrictions, it requires an honest conversation about the wider consequences of how to mitigate them, she said. The report does not address how these MPs would actually make up for the loss of care workers or even income from overseas students outlined in their document. She said one of the reasons demanded for care home workers has been so high is because of the limited public funding in the care system. International students have been a growing source of revenue for universities, so the proposals that would reduce these student numbers cannot be considered in isolation from the funding of higher education. And that's something else, by the way, that they said that wasn't mentioned there. Of course, they want to lower the number of international students and add that as to the requirement as well. Well, universities have relied on the funding that they get from international students. So what happens now to our higher education system that you take that out of the system? They've got no response to that. But of course, again, you can imagine these people are very much culture warriors. So if the higher education system gets defunded, well, I suppose they'll probably say that's a good thing. And again, care home workers, if you reduce that, then how do you get more care home workers? They said, oh, well, we'll train more. We've seen this type of song and dance before. It does not work. You need access to overseas workers. That's just the reality of the situation. And I agree with the expert here. They are not actually engaging with what the actual wider consequences of their problems with this would create. So, would more public funding be made available to mitigate the costs of these lower migrations in these areas? He said that some of these proposals were outlandish. For example, an NHS charge of over £2,700 per person a year seems based on a complete misunderstanding of how the NHS is funded, namely through income and taxes. A change this high would probably be the tail that wags the dog of the rest of the policies that the report proposes, Sumpton says. So, their own proposals that they are completely panicking about because, as we said, they want to try and fight the next election to them on immigration and try and blame all the problems that they are facing on immigration, which, as we said before, that's not the case. Immigration is not the problem that we are facing in this country. It's the fact that we've had austerity, which has completely decimated our civil services. You want to go over the housing. Well, again, the government has not been building housing. And as you can see, when you've got the expert going, yeah, they're not even really engaging, and the fact that their own proposals will create even more problems, which again, they are not addressing, they are desperate. They are desperate and they are panicking. And this is exactly what I said would happen. And ultimately, this is only going to cause more problems for Rishi Sunak because at the time, Miriam Cates has come out and said, we're not challenging Rishi Sunak yet. But oh boy, will they. And trust me, as a general election closes more and more, we will certainly probably be hearing from this new Conservative group about how Rishi Sunak is failing on immigration. And sooner or later, as we said, this autumn, Sunak's sort of periods for defense from letters from the 1922 committee comes up. I think it's September. So could they legitimately put forward a challenge to him based on this, that he's failing on immigration? Could the Tories want to actually change their leader before the next general election if they think that Rishi Sunak is not going to be the guy who can really put their best foot forward for a general election? We'll see. But once again, this is yet another group, another headache for Rishi Sunak, which he does not need. But to be honest, as I've always said, whenever there's something like this happens, it's good news for us. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button before you leave. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.